Hi, welcome to Lending Your Ear. I'm Richard Parker. In this episode, I'd like to talk to you about closing day and some of the items and things that you should expect during the closing process. First off, we'll talk about a couple of the things that you're going to need in order to finish up using paperwork and get started. You're going to need two forms of ID to be able to take to the attorney so they can identify who you are and make sure that you are exactly the person that is supposed to be signing these documents. So take with you your driver's license, and one other form of ID could be anything from, say, your insurance cards to your passport. Just make sure you have two forms of ID with you that day. You'll also need to have in hand your certified check from your bank if you haven't already sent the wire from your bank to be able to get your funds or your loan closed and paid for. While you're at the closing table, you definitely want to make sure that you review the documents. Now, your attorney is going to go over each one of these things with you. They're going to discuss with you in some detail about each document that you are about to sign. You can listen to the attorney and sign the documents as they explain them to you, but don't feel pressured that the attorney is going over these with you, that maybe you have to sign them right there and take it at face value. If you feel like it's something that you want to look over, by all means, feel free to. I mean, you are about to make a 30-year commitment, most likely on the largest purchase of your life. So make sure that you're reviewing those documents to make sure everything in there is how you remembered it being told to you. Make sure that your name, address, and all the everything in it is accurate. It should have already probably looked at it with your in multiple times, most likely with your lender, but this is kind of like the final piece of it, and you just want to make sure that everything's good. That way you're not going to be asked to come back later. So what else is going to happen? Your lender is going to disperse the funds for the loan that day. So at that point, like, the attorney is going to get your funds, but they're also going to get the funds from your lender. That's going to come over that day and make sure that you can now actually own the home. Three main items that you're going to sign that day are going to be your deed of trust, which is the mortgage or the lien on the home, promissory note, which is going to be like your agreement to pay the lender, and then the closing disclosure. You probably would have already seen this several times, but this will be the actual finalized closing disclosure that will have everything itemized, and it should be perfect by that time with the exact numbers on it, so everything balances out. But that's going to be the itemized list of charges that have happened throughout our process. Now, that sounds like three small little documents that you're going to just like look at, and it's going to be not a big deal. But honestly, it's a packet of paper like about this thick. It seems like you'll never get through it, and you're going to sign your name probably 100 times, it seems like. I don't know the exact number, but I've been told that it gets probably somewhere closer to 60 times that you're going to sign your name on a piece of paper. So be prepared, have your writing hand well worked out by the time you get there. So what do you pay at closing? You're going to be paying your down payment, as well as your prepaid items such as taxes and insurance, your closing fees related to the title and attorney, and other services such as your pest control or things like that added up throughout the process of getting your documents together. So that's what everything's going to add up to. So you're going to have in that same check your down payment amount, whatever it is based on the loan that you've taken, plus all of your fees and services that you haven't paid for beforehand, all due on the day of closing. So either you will pay all of those costs, or according to your contract and agreement, you may have split the cost with some of these things with your seller. So who's going to be there? Who will be at the actual closing? Well, you'll have your attorney there, of course. You're either going to have your attorney or maybe like a title representative there helping you get the documents closed. You should have your realtor there if they're able to make it. Most of the time your realtor is going to be able to be at your closing, and half the time, I'm generally always at my closings, but at least half the time you should have your lender present. Now, with the current time, we're having the pandemic of COVID, so a lot of times maybe your lender may not show up just out of respect for everyone in the room. So that's who you should probably expect to see at your closing the day that you get there. Of course, your sellers are going to be there, and you should be there, of course, as well, signing the documents. There may actually be a second realtor there. That realtor would probably be there as the seller's representative as well. So how long does it take to get through the closing process? That's the $1,000,000 question you get asked all the time as a lender. I generally tell people it kind of depends on how thorough you are with your paperwork. So it could take anywhere from an hour to a couple of hours to be able to get through your closing documents. It just really kind of depends on the speed that you want to go through it and how thorough you want to go through and read your documents, or if you're listening to the attorney as they explain the documents to you. So that's a quick rundown of what it takes, or the steps that you're going to expect during the closing day experience. So of course, as always, if you have any questions, feel free to give me a call, 205-863-5231. You can always find me on Facebook, Richard Parker Mortgage Consultant, as well as on here with YouTube, Richard Parker Mortgage Consultant. Until next time, I'll talk to you later.